Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. This could be fight of the year. 160 pounds, somebody making a mistake. Is it Big Guo or Big Kaye Scott? Shields versus Scott, episode 1. Let me tell you, the road to one of the biggest fights in women's boxing is starting right here. Because Claressa Shields has a lot to lose. Kaye Scott has a whole lot to gain. So with me, I want to try to break down why Shields versus Scott has become one of the most, I'd say one of the most discussed boxing matches of the year. You got to understand the return to 160 pounds for Claressa Shields is a really big deal. You got to question her conditioning, her focus, her experience, the strategy, legacy. You got to think about Kaye Scott. Also, her conditioning looks to be great, but we just gotta explore why all of this has fans split. So I want to do a better job at, not only having fun with the content, but just kind of talking about the fight or different fights as we lead up to fight night. Now, I'm gonna tell you this. This storyline is fascinating because people are looking at Kaye Scott and they're like, hey, Hood, you're right. The talent gap has closed because Claressa doesn't seem to be focused. She's doing everything but training. She's on the internet. She's still out here going back and forth with people. She seems to be having fun in the gym instead of, focusing on training. She doesn't seem like the weight is coming off. I mean, it's become, it's not even about undefeated versus undefeated. Because people are looking at the records and expecting Claressa to blow Kaye Scott out. But I'm going to tell you this. It's not a bitter rivalry here. There's not $1 million in the line. But what's happening here is there's a lot of questions that boxing fans have been asking for hundreds of years. Can Claressa Shields' greatness overcome change? That's what they always talk about. The greatness in fighters and then change. And that's why this fight matters. You got somebody entering the ring, Big Guo, as one of the most accomplished, I would say, champions, fighters ever, male or female. It doesn't matter if you like her or not. One of the most accomplished champions of her generation. Then you got Kaye Scott, 42 years old, 7 fights, 5 wins, 1 loss, or 1 draw. And she is really looking for the opportunity to transform her career in one night. Will she be able to do it? Some people feel she can. They say Claressa just doesn't seem to be locked in. It could be some financial troubles, some ups and downs in a relationship. She's not winning awards. She seems to be a bit erratic. But I am telling you one thing. When you look at this on paper, Claressa's got the resume. But when you take a look, and she seems to be quite comfortable where she's at in life. But you look at Kaye Scott, she has an opportunity. And she doesn't look to be all that comfortable. She looks like she really wants to come in here and prove all the doubters wrong. I, in particular, called her damaged goods. Wasn't meaning to be disrespectful, but just to kind of emphasize that she was a 42-year-old woman, spent a whole lot of time as an amateur, and had to get an emergency CT scan on her brain and skull. So when you hear that, it makes you wonder, why in the world would Claressa Shields come down and wait to fight somebody like this if you really want someone to give you credit for the win? And that's because Claressa, she carries a lot of expectations. And fans have a lot of expectations from her when it comes to how she performs in the ring. And this is why they're having a tough time giving her credit. But I'm telling you, Kaye Scott has a chip on her shoulder now because she realizes that most people aren't giving her a chance. She wants to prove people wrong. So Claressa carries the expectation of winning another fight. Kaye Scott is carrying hunger into the ring. And one thing I can say about the Australian fighters, they fight hard. They fight with honor. And for Kaye Scott, she's not just going to get hit and roll over and quit. I know some people think the fight's fixed. I don't think it's fixed, but I do think the fight was set up for Claressa to come down to 160 and get a big knockout. I'm just not so sure she can get the job done as far as a knockout. Get the win, Yeah, she's supposed to win, but you just don't know. You see, this fight, although there's 2 belts on the line, it, not. I think there are times where fights. I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. There are times where fights stop being about belts, and it becomes about identity. And for Kaye Scott, her identity could be, look, I'm 42, and I want people to see me as the Australian female version of George Foreman. I want to be the Australian version, the female version of Bernard Hopkins. I want to be in my 40s and pull off a big win, a big upset, and retain my belts in this case. And for Claressa, she's like, shit, man, please. I want to come down and wait and reclaim the titles that I let go because, according to Claressa, no women wanted to fight her. And that's why this fight is different. Most championship fights follow a familiar pattern. You get the champion, mandatory challenger, fight week, then the bell rings. But this one here feels way, way different because fans aren't only debating who wins, they're debating how each fighter arrives at this moment. And there's a lot of questions about preparation. Wondering about Claressa. She looks like she had a whole lot of, like over 200, she's over 200 pounds, over 40 pounds to lose. How the hell is she cutting that weight? Is she on Ozempic? Does she have a nutritionist? Does she have a dietitian? Does she have a strength and conditioning coach? Is she doing it on her own? Does she only have one of those 3? Are all 3 working together? You see, people don't know. You know, is she going to be able to adapt to 160? You know, what weight does Kaye Scott walk around? She looks to be in shape year round. Maybe she walks around close to that weight. So she's in fight shape already. So all she got to do is focus on polishing her skills and working on the game plan and strategy. Where Claressa has to spend out of her 20-week camp, which is what she's had, first 12 to 16 weeks cutting weight. And then the last 8 to 4 weeks trying to work on strategy and game plan. And I'm telling you, the experience would normally outweigh the momentum, but right here it seems like Kaye Scott's momentum can outweigh Claressa's experience if Claressa is spending a lot of time focused on the fat camp. So will this fight reach the championship rounds? Well, those are questions. And as a result of these questions, you know, the conversations have fueled anticipation for this fight. I'm going to tell you right now, if it goes beyond round 3 or 4, Kaye Scott has a great chance because there's a good chance Claressa develops dead leg. She gets exhausted, fights to get a second and third win, what she normally gets in fights. But she's cutting so much weight. You know what I'm saying? It'd be hard for her to recover. Now, as far as the champion's position, they're both champions. It's just Claressa is not a champion at 160, but she was. No one beat her. She was a heavyweight champion. She's just moving down to 160. So to come out here and act like Kaye Scott's the champion and Claressa's the challenger, I mean, I guess technically it is, but Claressa's a champion. Okay? And as a result, she's built one of the strongest resumes in women's boxing. Doesn't matter if you like her or not. We're dealing with the facts. Olympic success, world titles, undisputed championships, and she will remind you, victories across multiple weight classes. I mean, look, when you have a track record like Claressa Shields inside that ring, it creates expectations. When a fighter achieves sustained success, like Big Whoop, every new opponent is measured against that history. So when you look at her about to face Kaye Scott, you know, observers, supporters, diehard fans, even if you're not a fan of Claressa, you expect her to dominate, especially someone like Kaye Scott, 42 years old, 7 fights, no knockouts. You know what I'm saying? But then you got critics. They look for signs that time, circumstance, or style could narrow the gap. You see what I'm saying? And this is the position they feel that Kaye Scott could be in, where she may narrow that gap. But Claressa's a champion, and she occupies the status of people questioning her just because I don't think she's the same fighter she was her first 5 or 6 fights. I think she'd become a bit more reckless, wild, and just in there winning fights because she can just beat girls up instead of really relying on her skill. Now for Kaye Scott, she's the one with the 2 belts at 160, but she's really the challenger. If you just want to be real, Kaye Scott's really the challenger. Clarissa's the A side. I wonder what Kaye Scott's getting paid for this fight. But the bottom line is she may have something to prove. And I think she does. She represents more than a chance at victory. This is an opportunity to not just redefine how fans view her career, but to shake up the entire women's boxing world. If Kaye Scott clips Big Goat, women's boxing won't be the same. Because it's not even about having a new player. I mean, she beat Claressa. Most of us believe that Claressa, it's damn near impossible to beat that woman in a fight. We'll always talk about a cyborg and Hannah Gabriel. We'll talk about Shadesha. But even they will tell you, Claressa is not an easy out for anybody. But someone like Kaye Scott, look, she's an underdog. And I think when you have underdogs, they fight with fewer external expectations. And this may allow Kaye Scott to say, you know what, man, forget all this. I'm going to take calculated risk, leave it all on the line. Because she knows if she wins, everything changes. Everything changes. And if she loses competitively, like I've been saying, she's still going to get respect, but that is going to give Claressa a moral loss. Because Claressa is not supposed to be in a competitive fight with someone like Kaye Scott on paper. And that's why that dynamic can make challengers like Kaye Scott very, very dangerous. Now, something else that's dangerous is this 160-pound weight limit. I wonder as they get closer to the fight, if Claressa going to do like Earl Spence did Tim Tszyu, and instead of fighting at 154, 158, and now they're fighting at 160. I wonder if Claressa, they agreed to 160, they're going to bump it up to maybe 164 to maybe 168 or something like that. I wonder what Claressa is going to do. Or is she going to stick to the 160-pound weight limit? But that's why the 160 pounds is a major talking point. Because weight classes exist for a reason. Kaye Scott's the champion at 160. Not at any other weight. The fight should be at 160. But if they do fight at a different weight, well, Claressa, the belts won't be on the line, obviously. And at least not for Claressa. And it's going to make her look, like she lacks discipline. But weight classes are supposed to create fair competition. But I'll say this, moving between divisions is not really that simple. A fighter returning to a previous weight, especially to drop over 40 pounds, you got to try to balance speed, strength, endurance, recovery, the weight cut, maintaining muscle, overall performance. And I'm going to tell you, there are some athletes with the right preparation, they can thrive after slimming down. Others find the transition more difficult. I tend to think Claressa is finding the transition way more difficult. So exactly how a fighter manages that process can influence what happens once the opening bell rings. And I just think Claressa is going to come out in them 2-minute rounds, especially in the first 3 or 4, letting it all hang out, trying to impress that crowd in ATL and get a big knockout because she so desperately wants a knockout. Because as much as she tries to shit on Layla Ali and shit on Alicia and shit on Amanda and shit on every female fighter out there, the bottom line is they get knockouts, she doesn't. Because styles make fights, and Claressa doesn't have the style to knock people out. She's a coochie cooer. She's a tickler. You know what I'm saying? That's what she does. And I'm going to tell you this right now. That's one of boxing's oldest sayings. Styles make fights. Greatness alone doesn't guarantee an easy night. And just because you can hit a punching machine and get over, a score of 900, that doesn't mean you go get a knockout in a fight. Look at Claressa. She only has 3 knockouts. All that talent, all that speed. Obviously has some power, but for some reason, she just can't get the job done. So I wonder if she's going to bring that pressure to Kaye Scott. Because if she brings pressure to Kaye Scott, maybe she could trouble her. Especially if Kaye Scott's looking to counter. But Claressa is a counterpuncher. What if Kaye Scott decides to become the pressure fighter? Because she depends on her gas tank. And says, shit, I'm going to put pressure on Claressa. Back her up, make her counterpunch, and give her trouble. I'm not going to let her dictate the pace and come forward on that front foot. And then if Claressa's coming forward on that front foot because she likes to be aggressive, maybe Kaye Scott's like, look, I'm going to depend on my gas tank and I'm going to be a patient boxer. Use my reach, my boxing acumen, and I'm just going to sit there and keep her at a distance and put that stick in her face. I said stick. All right, for those of y'all who heard something else, I said she's going to put the stick in her face. STICK, not what y'all heard. Okay. But with the reach, timing, pace, distance management, and adaptability, all that shit matters when you can bring it all together, and that can create problems. It depends on who can do that successfully. But a lot of people are rooting for Kaye Scott to get in there, implement all this, and shock a big vote. But I just think when I'm looking at this, and as I try to break down a 30-part series, understanding who may be making the biggest mistake, I just think there's a lot of stylistic questions that I'm gonna try to dive into in the next few episodes, because I'm gonna try to do like 30 episodes on these two. But again, experience, opportunity. What Claressa brings to the table is valuable, man. Championship experience at different levels, amateurs, pro, everything. She's competed on the big stages. She's developed composure under pressure. At the same time, an established champion was once the challenger. And every great career includes a moment when someone sees an opportunity that others thought was out of reach. It could be Kaye Scott. She's an established champion, but she's in the position, although she's the champion, of the challenger going against Big Woat, what some people say the face of women's boxing, who has all the attention in the world on her, whether you think it's good and positive. She has the attention. And if Kaye Scott clips Big Woat, it will be a big deal. Some people say her winning is out of reach. I'm not going to say that. This is boxing. The best fighter doesn't win. There's a boxer who fights the best on that night. Maybe with Claressa's weight cut and the distractions, stars line up for Kaye Scott to shock the world. So I think when you think about all that, that creates a bit of tension. And that tension, then the experience versus the opportunity, is one of the reasons this matchup is capturing a lot of attention, and you can see the tide is kind of turning, and people are starting to say, hold on, Kaye Scott does have a chance. Because you got to understand what makes a great champion. People ask, is it talent hood? I'm like, yeah. Is it discipline? I'm like, yeah. Is it preparation? I'm like, look, it's more than one thing. McNicholas, you keep asking me all these damn questions. They're like, what about adaptability and mental toughness? I'm like, yo, all the above. What you want me to say? Hey, yo, hold your horse and stop taking it to the stupid. All the above, man. But I'm not going to just focus solely on punches thrown inside the ring. I feel like I want to sneeze. Excuse me. But I'm also going to try to examine the preparation for both of these fighters, strategy, mindset, recovery, legacy, and the countless details that shape championship performances to see if they're going to be the ones that get the job done. But I'm telling you, fans are still asking, how will each fighter look at 160? I don't know. We got to wait and see. Who's going to control the pace? Hey, look, we just got to wait and see. Who's going to adapt if the game plan doesn't win? Who has different levels to the game? Which fighter handles championship pressure more effectively? What tactical adjustments could decide the outcome? These are all the questions, man, that I'm going to try to address through the series. And these are things that I'm hearing in my lives, and I'm hearing and reading in the comments that some people are asking. Now, of course, they don't say it the way I say it, but this is what they want to know. So I think we'll dive into that in the next few episodes. But I'm just telling you, by the time I finish covering these two women, it isn't about to tell you who you should support. Y'all support who you want. It's just to help you understand why this fight matters. This is a big deal, man. And just understand, great fights aren't remembered only because of the result. It's remembered because of the stories that led to the opening bell. And you can already see what's going on with Claressa and Kaye Scott. The way this opened up, nobody thought Kaye Scott had a chance. Now a lot of people think she does. So at the end of the day, the road has only just begun, and this is episode 1. So if you enjoyed this, consider subscribing, turning on notifications, because I'm going to do 30 episodes. And in episode 2, I'm going to dive deep into Claressa Shields' journey from Flint, Michigan to the Olympic gold at World Championship stage. And we'll talk about how her background shaped her style, mentality, and legacy as one of boxing's most accomplished champions. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Stay tuned for episode 2. I'm in the breeze.